Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a stack of your sources that really zero in on something pretty dramatic, very public.
Yeah, this major falling out, it seems, between former President Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Exactly. Two incredibly powerful figures, and it seems quite, well, bitter.
It's a fascinating dynamic, isn't it? I mean, until very recently, they seemed, somewhat aligned, at least in public now, trading these really personal attacks.
Absolutely. So our mission here in this deep dive is to unpack this sharp turn the relationship has taken. We want to understand, based on these reports, what exactly sparked the conflict.
Right, what was the moment? And then look at the reactions, not just from Trump and Musk, but other political folks weighing in too.
And then, maybe the most interesting part, dig into some of the speculation in your sources about why. Why is this happening now? Is it just a spat or something more calculated?
Or even strategic, as one source really goes deep on.
Right. So think of this as, your shortcut to getting up to speed on this specific high-stakes drama playing out. We're pulling out the key bits, the different angles from the sources you shared. Let's unpack it.
Okay, so based on the sources, the flashpoint, the thing that really kicked this off publicly, seems very recent. It's centered on that big piece of legislation on Capitol Hill.
The one Trump reportedly calls his big, beautiful bill.
That's the one. And the trigger, according to these reports, was Elon Musk publicly criticizing it. And not just criticizing, but doing so very strongly.
How strongly?
Well, the sources say Musk warned it would massively increase the federal deficit. He reportedly called it, and this is a quote, a disgusting abomination.
Wow. Disgusting abomination. That's not holding back, is it?
Not at all. And it's striking because, as one source points out, it's a complete turnaround from what Musk apparently said not too long ago.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
That source mentions an interview where Musk specifically said he didn't want to create a bone of contention with the Trump administration.
Huh. So going from actively avoiding a fight to, well, disgusting abomination. That's quite a shift.
It really is. It signals pretty clearly that something significant changed behind the scenes, or Musk decided to change his public stance dramatically.
And once that criticism hit, the sources say things just exploded. Fast and personal.
They really did. Reports say Trump and Musk started trading these bitterly personal attacks right out there on social media for everyone to see.
Bitterly personal is right. One report detailed some of Musk's posts suggesting Trump should be impeached again.
And didn't he also bring up Jeffrey Epstein? Though apparently that post got deleted later.
Yeah, the sources mentioned that claim about an association and that it was later deleted. So how did Trump hit back? What did the interviews you cited say?
Pretty definitively, it seems. He reportedly said he has no desire to repair the relationship. When asked if it was over, he apparently said he had assumed so.
And just dismissed it.
Added he's too busy doing other things, which, sounds dismissive, but clearly not too busy to respond.
Right. He called Musk very disrespectful, didn't he? And said he could not disrespect the office of the president.
Yes, he framed it that way. And he pushed back hard on the Epstein claim, calling it false and basically old news.
But wasn't there something else in Trump's response? Something a bit contradictory.
Yeah, that's one of the really striking things in the reporting. Despite calling Musk disrespectful and saying it's over, the same sources quote Trump saying something quite different in the same breath, almost.
Like what?
He reportedly suggested he thought Musk was so depressed and so heartbroken.
Depressed and heartbroken. That's a very different tone from disrespectful.
Totally different. And maybe even stranger, he apparently suggested Musk attacking the bill was actually a big favor.
A favor? How?
Because in Trump's view, it brought out the strengths of the bill, made people defend it, maybe.
Okay, so let me get this straight. He's disrespectful, the relationship's over, but he's also heartbroken and did Trump a favor by attacking his bill. That's a few.
It is confusing. The sources just present these statements as part of his response. It leaves you wondering, right? Is it genuine mixed feelings? Is it a tactic to sort of, spin the criticism?
Right.
Or just Trump being Trump?
It definitely adds another layer of complexity to the whole public fight.
For sure. And this wasn't just happening in a vacuum between the two of them. This kind of public blow-up between huge figures like this, it inevitably pulls in the political world.
Yeah, the sources definitely highlight that. There was political fallout, other people commenting. Trump himself issued a warning, didn't he?
A pretty direct one, yeah. He reportedly warned Musk that if he tries to help Democrats in the upcoming elections, well, he'll have to pay the consequences for that.
Consequences? Did he say what kind?
Described them as very serious, but apparently didn't specify, which, leaves a lot hanging in the air.
And one source immediately connected that threat to Musk's businesses, right? Pointing out all the federal contracts his companies have.
Exactly. That source noted SpaceX, maybe others, have many lucrative federal contracts and argued this makes Musk potentially particularly vulnerable.
Vulnerable to very serious consequences, whatever those might be.
And that source even added a bit of history, reminding readers that Trump has reportedly already threatened to cut Mr. Musk's contracts in the past. So maybe not a new idea, but perhaps delivered with new intensity now.
Interesting. Okay, so that's Trump's warning. What about other Republicans? Were they trying to smooth things over?
Some definitely were, according to the reports. House Speaker Mike Johnson reportedly said he hoped these two titans can reconcile. He framed it as being in the interest of the country.
Interest of the country. That suggests they see real value politically or maybe economically in having Trump and Musk not be at war.
Seems that way. Johnson also reportedly gave his personal view, saying he thinks Trump's head is in the right place and hoping he avoids getting caught up in a Twitter war, suggesting maybe it's avoidable.
And Vice President J.D. Vance weighed in, too. What was his view?
Vance, in an interview the sources cite, called Musk's initial attack on the bill a huge mistake.
A huge mistake. Strong words.
Yeah.
Did he also hope for reconciliation?
He did, reportedly saying he hoped Musk would come back into the fold. But he added a caveat that Musk had gone so nuclear with the criticism and personal stuff that maybe reconciliation wasn't possible anymore.
Gone so nuclear.
Yeah.
That echoes the bitterly personal attacks description and Musk's response to Vance saying all this.
According to the sources, when Musk was shown a clip of Vance's comments, his reported response was just one word.
Which was?
Cool.
Just cool.
Yep, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't exactly scream remorse or desire to patch things up, does it? Kind of reinforces the idea that maybe he's okay with this fight.
It definitely comes across as very nonchalant, almost dismissive of the political pressure, which, circles back to the big question.
Exactly. With all this drama, the attacks, the political fallout, and considering Musk had supported Trump, even financially, according to reports, why? Why blow it up so publicly? The sources really try to dig into this.
And this is where one source in particular offers a really detailed, kind of provocative theory. It asks, was this self-destructive, just Musk losing his cool? Or was it actually a deliberate and calculated power move?
A calculated power move. Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the argument there?
Well, this analysis points to Musk's reported major financial backing for Trump's campaign numbers, like over $300 million mentioned for late 2024, early 2025.
Big money.
Huge money. And then it highlights the absolutely massive jump in Musk's net worth, over $150 billion, it says, just months after Trump's victory.
Wow, over $150 billion. That's staggering.
It really is. And this source frames that as potentially a 500x return on his political investment. The implication being, gains like that aren't just luck. They suggest a very savvy strategic engagement with politics.
So the argument is he's not just a donor, he's playing a deeper game, positioning himself as a political kingmaker.
That's the exact term used. The source argues Musk at 53 controls X, which is, arguably a vital tool for shaping political narratives, especially for Trump.
Yeah, a huge platform.
Combine that platform with, as the source puts it, virtually unlimited capital. And the theory is he's uniquely positioned to be this kingmaker, not just funding campaigns, but actually shaping the conversation, boosting or burying ideas.
Controlling the narrative, essentially.
Precisely, a different kind of power. And the source speculates Musk might have learned a lot about how that power works during a brief reported spring internship in the White House.
A spring internship? What does that mean? Like he was actually interning?
Not literally, I don't think. The source uses quotes. It implies a period of close access, observing the inner workings of power, influence, messaging, maybe deal-making from the inside.
Ah, okay. Gaining insider knowledge.
That's the suggestion. And this perspective argues that the timing of his public break with Trump, perhaps coming after such a period, makes it look less like a random outburst and more like a considered strategic shift.
Did this analysis offer any concrete, maybe transactional reasons for the shift, like specific policy fights?
It did speculate on a couple of possibilities, yeah, framing it more around potential conflicts over money or control. One idea mentioned was that Trump might have rejected Musk's preferred candidate for NASA administrator.
Okay, so a disagreement over a specific appointment, a point of influence.
Potentially. Another big one speculated on involves the very bill that started this whole thing.
The big, beautiful bill.
Right. The source suggests that maybe Tesla, Musk's company, was excluded from new EV credits in that bill. And that exclusion could potentially cost Tesla billions.
Billions with a B. Okay, so that would be a pretty clear potential motive for calling it a disgusting abomination.
Exactly. That's the argument presented in this analysis, that his strong opposition might be rooted in a direct, massive financial hit to his business interests. It makes a strategic explanation seem more plausible than just, a random fit of anger.
So, from this viewpoint, the Republican feud isn't a mistake at all. It's strategic.
That's the core thesis of this particular source. It posits this whole thing might be a calculated strategic play to beat influence, control narratives, and shape the next decade of power and innovation. It even calls the move potentially genius.
Genius. Wow.
Yeah, seeing it as maybe creating a new dynamic where these two forces compete and reshape things. And interestingly, this same source describes Trump's responses throughout this as looking composed and presidential.
That's a fascinating and definitely provocative take. But it's really important we mention the disclosure with this source, right? The author acknowledges a potential bias.
Oh, absolutely crucial context. Yes, the source clearly states the author has financial interest in both Tesla and SpaceX. They're upfront that this might shape their view, leading them to see Musk's actions through this strategic lens described as a perspective shaped by market history and hope.
Right. So you have to weigh that potential bias when considering this calculated move theory. It's one interpretation, but an acknowledged one.
Definitely. Okay, so while the drama is mostly about the clash of personalities and these strategic theories, we should probably quickly touch on the bill itself. What do the sources say about its actual substance?
Good point, since it was the trigger. As we said, Trump calls it Big Beautiful, and both he and BP Vance defended it. Vance reportedly said its main goal was extending the 2017 tax cuts.
Calling it a good bill, maybe not a perfect bill, but fundamentally good in his view.
Right. But the sources also bring in the nonpartisan analysis, specifically the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO.
Yes, and the CBO estimates sort of provide the backdrop for Musk's criticism about the deficit. The CBO projects this bill would add significantly to the national debt. The figures cited are around $2.4 to $3.8 trillion over 10 years.
Trillions. That's a huge number.
It is. And the CBO also estimated it would mean millions more people without health insurance. The number cited was around 10.9 million more.
Okay, so Musk's deficit concerns weren't exactly pulled out of thin air, according to those projections, even if his language was extreme.
The numbers cited seem to support the concern, yeah. And Musk himself reportedly claimed the bill would essentially wipe out any savings from his DOGE initiative.
DOGE. What's that again?
Department of Government Efficiency. Apparently an initiative Musk was involved with aimed at finding cost savings in government.
Ah, right. So his claim was, this bill's spending or debt increase is so big it negates any savings his efficiency project found.
Exactly. It ties his disgusting abomination comment back to a specific, though obviously contested, policy impact.
So, okay, let's take a step back. We've gone through the spark, the attacks, the politics, the why theories, the bill details. What's the big picture here? What does this deep dive tell us?
Well, I mean, it shows this really fascinating collision, doesn't it? These two huge figures from different worlds, politics and tech business, clashing very publicly.
And it's a stark reminder of how quickly alliances, even at that level, can just fracture, how things shift when interests, maybe strategic calculations change.
Absolutely. And it throws up these different ways to look at what powerful people do in public. Is it raw emotion, a reaction, or is it, like that one source suggested, a calculated move? A strategic play.
It really highlights that complex knot of massive wealth, political ties, government policy, business interests, all tangled up and playing out on social media, no less.
Yeah, often on the very platforms they control or use heavily.
So we've unpacked this Trump-Musk feud using your sources,
Yeah.
looked at the bill that sparked it, the bitter back and forth, the political ripple effects, and that really interesting speculation about strategy versus simple conflict.
It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? About power and influence today. When people with this much reach and resource clash so openly, is it ever just personal? Or are there always these deeper strategic currents, these underlying interests driving it all?
Definitely something for you to consider as you watch this story unfold and as you see these dynamics between money, tech, and politics continue to play out.